Hello everyone. I welcome you all to We Learn here, and our today's session is going to be a really interesting one because today we have with us Mr. Atul Sharma, who has secured All India Rank 1 in RBI Grade-B 2023. So first of all, many welcome to the channel. आपका आपके ही channel पे स्वागत है, and many congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Anmol. And yeah, the session will be an interesting one because the host is also a RBI Grade B officer selected in this year.
Sir, so first of all, I would like to ask, how is the feeling first? पहले तो you cleared the exam, and secondly, that too with All India Rank 1. So how are you feeling?
So I was not that excited when I came to know that I have cleared the exam. But when I came to know about AIR-01, so I was really I was very happy.
Yeah, it's like all the hard work paid off in one go, and it was really interesting. So we'll learn about Sir's journey, his resources, secrets, everything. But before we dive into all these things, सबसे पहले ये जान लेते हैं कि इस जर्नी में सर का जो भी सक्सेस रहा है उसमें who has been the pillars of support. So sir, if I would have to ask कि किसको आप क्रेडिट देना चाहेंगे for this success?
So there are many people. So first of all, I would like to thank the Almighty Shankar, uh, Bhagwan Ji, for the luck thing, because I think I missed this luck in 2019. I want to thank my uncles, my parents, my family, because they were the ones who inculcated this habit of dedication and consistency in me. Then my wife, because I was short of that self belief after 2019. So she helped me in believing the process. So my friends, they pushed me. Then there have been people, you have been there, you evaluated my mains answers. So Jayesh has been there. He also took my mock interviews. Then Akshay has been there. He took my mock interviews. Neeraj, Raj, Salabji, they have been. It's a long list. And there are many people who have helped me during my bad phase actually. So they provided me a support, and a big thank to We Learn Here family too, because We Learn Here has been an escape for me during my bad phase. So I couldn't prepare at that time, so I chose to stay in touch with the aspirants, because aspirants have that energy. So that is why. And I chose to guide at that point of time. And the kind of love I have got, it is phenomenal. I thank you, uh, all the We Learn Here family members. Thank you.
And sir, even we as the members of We Learn Here family, we are also grateful to all your support and motivation, like everything that you do for us, that too selflessly. So it's really a big thing. So thank you so much for initiating this channel. And sir, so let's start with your journey. So first of all, I would like to ask you, like, what is your education background, and then how did RBI come into picture? When did you get to know about it, and when did you take your first attempt? Please tell us everything in brief.
Okay. So actually, my education background, I have done my BTech in mechanical stream from Sundarnagar, Jawaharlal Nehru Government Engineering College. And because engineering, medical, non-medical, these were the things which we don't have choice. No, we have seen memes also. So we after graduation we actually think what is our passion and what should we do. So that was the case here. So during BTech, after BTech or in the last year, I decided to go for banking exams because I needed a job. But somehow I appeared for SBI clerical exam, SBI PO, and I scored good marks. So at that time, QR English was okay for me. Quant and reasoning were an issue. So I solved RS Agarwal quantitative aptitude and RS Agarwal reasoning. So these were the books which helped me at that time, and the basics were very clear from these books. So I didn't need to do this again and again till today. So that was the base actually. After that, I appeared for CAT and got this institute, Indian Institute of Forest Management, Bhopal. So after my during my PG only, I had this inclination towards government sector, and one of my friend was there, Jayesh Patel. So both of us we decided that we'll forego private companies during campus placement will sit for government sector only. So I ended up in Madhya Pradesh State Forest Development Corporation through campus, and he ended up in Madhya Pradesh Tiger Foundation Society through campus. And we were roommates for 2 years. We prepared together for 2 years. So there was this thing whether we should go for UPSC or RBI, but we didn't want political interference and all those things. So that is why we decided to go for RBI in 2018 itself.
Okay. So 2018 was your first attempt of RBI.
Yes.
Okay, and in 2019 you were really close, like you were just point 0.5 away from making into the finalist. So if I have to ask, like, what changed in this particular attempt that you ended up as AIR-1? Is there anything which was different in the approach?
So actually, self belief, I think I lacked at that time, and I was hopeful of clearing that exam. So two things. First was I didn't have any relation to RBI as such. I came from development management background. I had worked in microfinance institution for 2 months. It was an internship, but still it was not enough. And then I was working in forest department. So all in all, a different field. So I lacked some certifications or anything. I needed a simply a chain which tagged me to the
Okay.
RBI. So that was
Okay.
missing at that time. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll focus more on this as we'll move forward in this session, and we'll focus more on this aspect as we'll talk about the interview. So for now, we'll move towards phase one. So we'll start with the GA section. So, sir, first of all, what were your sources of GA for GA section?
Okay. For GA, I followed Affairs Cloud, Business Standard, and PIB. So
Okay,
these three sources only I followed, and nothing else. So around 5 months GA, 5 to 6 months GA, I covered for phase one. Also, I was in touch, from one or something more than 1 year with this newspaper and PIB. So that also helped me. And if we talk about this year's GA, they are making it a bit difficult now. So it is much more important. Like it is very very important to inculcate this habit of reading newspaper and PIB on daily basis.
Okay, sir. So as we are talking about the GA, so people have this doubt that Affairs Cloud PDFs are really bulky. So I would like to ask, have you went through the pocket PDFs or the monthly compilations, the study PDF, and whichever source you chose, what was your approach for revision? How many times did you read it so that you were able to mug up all those datas and you were able to keep up with that?
Okay. So I read this study PDF only, the bulky 400-pager document. But the thing is, when you read for phase one, you have to be conceptually clear when you are appearing for some exam. So you don't need to majorly, like if I am following 5 months Affairs Cloud, so only 2 or 3 months I read the whole document. And the months before that, I only went through phase two oriented news, which is much more important. So I left sports, obituaries, and defense, environment, even some of the MOUs I left, some of this banking news, because these days they are putting each and every banking MOU in that PDF. So you have to segregate on those things. So that was the approach I followed. And for last 3 months, just before the prelims, I read almost each news, but the approach for revision and all. So in the first go, I'll simply read. I don't try to cram. I don't try to mug up. I'll simply read. So what happens when I'm reading first time? I mark things that this is important, this is not important, this is important, this is not important, and after the end of first read, that 400 pager has been reduced to 200 pager itself. Then I start with the revision after 2 3 days. I'll go for the revision, and in during second revision again there will be segregation. Some of the things
Okay.
will be reduced, so at the end of the day, it is 150 pager document, and that 150 pager, I try to revise as many times as possible. 4 or 5 times a minimum revisions are required.
Okay, so Like if we have to tell it to aspirants, then 3 months current affairs for phase one, we have to do it point to point everything which is relevant. And for other months, we have to be focused more on the phase two. And sir, one more thing which I would like to ask is that if we look at the questions, if we look at this year's RBI question paper, then the questions were really in depth. Like there were multi-liner questions, and it was taking a lot of time. And even if we talk about the one-liner questions, so if we look at the exam, like during 2019, the questions used to be very conventional. But now, even if you are reading a sports news, then something is asked like too far stretched from that content. So, in such situations, how the aspirants should deal so that they can maximize their score in this section.
Actually, what happens when you enter the exam hall, you have to keep all assumptions outside the exam. So, when you have entered, you have to assess the level of the exam. So, before 2023, my serious attempt was in 2019 only. So, uh, I scored around 65 or 67 in GA in 2019, and coming from there scoring 28 in GA in 2023, it was a tough call for me. But when I went inside, I started reading the questions. First six questions I couldn't attempt any. So I simply came to know the exam is tough, and it is like a bit more tougher even than 2022, whatever I have heard about 2022. So what I decided that I'll simply go. There is no need to rush. I took my time to read the questions, and then I attempted. I could only reach question number 58. I was not able to see all 80 questions. So I could reach 58. Out of those 58, I think I attempted 33 or 34. And I ended up 28.25 or something like that. The marks were there. So
Okay.
the key is to take your time. Okay, when I came outside the exam hall, went through this the messages on the group. So I came to know, yeah, that it was pretty tough. But some people were saying कि end में अच्छे easy questions से. There were one liners in that, but that is again a kind of gamble, no? If you simply go to the end, if you rush through, and if you mark two or three questions wrong in order to correct two questions or three questions, so it will be again not that good, no? It will hamper your marks. So that is one approach. You have to go slow, you have to take your time, and the first thing is to assess the level of exam. So if it is tough, it is okay to attempt less number of questions also. But the thing
Okay.
is, you should work on accuracy. And
Okay.
this year's question, all those questions, no, most of the questions, they were nowhere in coaching PDFs or even Affairs Cloud. If you are following for many years, then that is okay, or many months, that is okay. You will have some idea. But the major questions, no, they were understanding based. For
Hmm.
example, there was one question that the major portion of government securities, those are subscribed by commercial banks, insurers, or something like that. So if you have been following a newspaper, say Business Standard or any finance newspaper, so this thing you should know. If you are reading so many articles, you will be knowing this thing that commercial banks only, they are subscribing so many, a major chunk of government securities. So that kind of questions were there this year.
Okay. So it has to be like you cannot have a strategy of 3 months. You need to build a base, which definitely takes time. And sir, as we are talking about the newspaper, so a lot of people have doubts related to newspaper, which includes like which newspaper is best. Secondly, as most of our candidates are working candidates, so they find it difficult to read the newspaper. So what should be the effective way of reading the newspaper? Thirdly, how we should treat newspaper in such a way that we are preparing for both phase one and phase two.
Okay, so basically we should prepare for phase two only, keeping in mind the syllabus of phase 2 only, because these days phase 1, they are also inculcating phase 2 in phase 1 itself, the type of questions they are putting. So that would be the approach. Also, which newspaper, look, any finance newspaper will do, but I religiously followed Business Standard only, following this from last 2 years or so. And how to read, actually, the first thing is you should be thorough with phase 2 syllabus. You should know each and every keyword which is mentioned in the syllabus. If your news is there, it is related to that keyword directly. I am not even saying indirectly. If it is related to some of the keyword in your syllabus directly, you should read that news. As simple
Okay.
as that. And if you find it difficult, you can always uh, you know follow we learn here. We used to post whatever we find important, but still human can easily commit errors, so it is better to believe on yourself. So that's why. And it doesn't take more than 40-45 minutes to read a newspaper.
Okay, so sticking to the syllabus is the trick to read newspaper in less time. And sir, if we talk about the note making, so do you used to make notes daily from the newspaper?
No, I started 10 days before prelims. I started to make notes, and for 3 months, April, May, June, and I think 15 or 20 days of July. So that was 3.5 months. I made notes, and it took me 2 to 3 days to make those notes, and then I revised those notes.
Okay, so what was your approach if one has to make notes from newspaper?
Okay, so what I did, because I used to post news articles, I simply scroll through We Learn Here, April 1, and then I just scroll through all the articles which have been posted there, PIB as well as Business Standard. I open the articles, whatever data I found important. Because many a times, or I'll say whatever news I share there, 50 or 60% of news are for enhancing the understanding level of aspirants, and these news don't need any kind of note making.
Okay,
So
and
uh,
yeah,
any news which contains data, if it is related to any circular of RBI, if it is related to any scheme of government of India, or any plan, or anything which has anything to do with the syllabus and Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi, it is very, very important these days. So these are the things which I focused on, and most of the things were understanding for understanding thing or this thing only. So those things I didn't focus much. I didn't make any notes on these that kind of news.
okay, sir. Sir, as you mentioned about the data, so a lot, like the data, there's a lot of data if we are reading newspaper or if we are reading PIB, or let's say even if we are going through any scheme. So there is a lot of data. So let's talk about both phase one and phase two. In that bulky data, how one can filter that which data is relevant and which data has to be left like that.
Okay, so this is very, very tricky, because someone who is starting to prepare for grade B, it will be very tricky for them, for the beginners, because they don't know how to segregate data. Okay, if someone is there who has appeared for 2 or 3 mains or prelims, he or she will still have an idea how to segregate. But for beginners, it is tough. So they should try to, whatever they find important, they should make notes for that kind of data. What happens after 2 or 3 months, you start to read newspaper, you will come to know that this data is not that important. And in second read, you can segregate. Even after 4 years of preparation, I also made bulky notes, but during my second or third revision, I segregated some more data from there. So what kind of data are important? If there is some scheme, so when was that scheme launched? If this kind of news is there, so you should in that passage only. I'm saying, I'm not asking that you go to the website of the ministry and you look about the information about that scheme. So simply, if in that newspaper it is mentioned when, which ministry, what is the entitlement, who all are beneficiaries, and if there is any change in that scheme. So this kind of news is important. Then number of beneficiaries. This is new kind of data which has been asked recently. So number of beneficiaries also. These kind of data are important. Then if there is any circular of RBI, then all the data is important, because most of the things, if there is circular and if some change is there, for example, I think risk weights has been changed. So two or three kind of risk weights are there. So for NBFCs 125% or something like that. So all that data is important. What was the reason behind increasing the risk weights? So these kind of data, basically data in figures, that is not the only thing which is data. There are some other data also, like the reason behind increasing the risk weight, which in general people used to ignore that kind of data, but that is also very very important these days.
Okay. So, sir has provided very brief insight about the data which has to be covered, and we have covered almost everything related to GA. So, now we'll move towards the quant reasoning and English section. So, sir, first I would like to tell your strategy one by one for all three sections, and then we'll move further.
Okay. So for quants, as I have already said, I did these two books for quant and reasoning in 2016. I didn't follow anything else till date. But what I used to do, I used to appear for mock tests, and analysis and assessment of that those mock tests. Now, it is very very important from any aspirant's perspective. I'm saying this because every person, you might be strong in some areas, I might be strong in some other areas. So that is the case. You have to identify, recognize your strength and your weaknesses in respective sections. For example, quants is there. So for quants, I find myself much more comfortable in data interpretation questions. So whenever people ask me how to approach quants, I've asked them that I find DI easier as compared to other questions, because if you solve one DI, you get 5 marks. So that is why I ask people, if you are comfortable with whatever kind of questions you are comfortable with, focus on those, and you should try to score 10 to 11 marks. And for quants, number of questions or the kind of questions are more or less same. The level, you can say difficulty level has increased, but there are 10 marks for DI. I think this time it was 15, if I'm not wrong. Then we have simplification. We have single questions on profit and loss, then percentage, and boat wala questions are there. So
Hmm.
something like that. So if you are comfortable with profit and loss, a boat wala question, arithmetic, so single questions are there. So you should solve that kind of questions. Like, for if I was focusing on DI, I solved some 30 DIs this year before appearing for phase one. So
Okay.
high level of, like, I started because I was solving DIs after 2 years or 3 years. So I started with the basic DIs first, 2 3 questions, then 2 3 medium level, and then I reached uh, the higher difficulty level, and then I solved. So that should be the approach, because the thing is, whenever you are asking about strategy for quants and reasoning, every person will give you a different kind of strategy, and that will not help at all. You have to devise your own strategy, especially for phase one, based on your own strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, sir. Sir, if I talk about the sources, like from which you have covered the high level DIs.
Okay, so basically, I searched for DIs which, like, previous year CAT questions were there. So CAT was one source for me, because I found CAT questions pretty difficult. So that was one. Then practice mock was the, I was a religious follower of practice mock. Whenever I have appeared for phase one, I have solved 10, 20 mocks or whatever mock I find from practice mock, and I really found that helpful. So I solved a mock, and in yesterday's interview also I was saying this. So whenever you attempt a mock, you assess it, and you should attempt it full. Okay, after you have submitted, try to attempt the full mock, each and every question. It will take time, but once you have solved full mock, there are two things. One, you will be able to know what are your strengths and weaknesses. Second, it will prepare you for the rainy day. For example, if you are not doing puzzles for the all the 10 mocks, you're totally focusing on non puzzles, and if you get difficult non puzzles and easy puzzles, then you will be confused. But if you have at least solved 10 mocks, with 2 3 puzzles, so you will be able to do something in exam.
Okay, so that is correctly said, sir. But if we talk about like R.S. Agrawal, even I used the R.S. Agrawal book back in 2020 to get my basics clear. But if we talk about the present times, then the level of quant has tremendously changed. So if anybody who is a beginner and who is starting their quant preparation, let's say for the 2024, then what should be the sources for them and what should be their approach so that they start from their basics but they reach at a level where they are able to solve the questions which are coming in the exam.
Okay, so that is again, I'll simply suggest that you should read or you should solve each and every question of RS Agarwal, because there were two things. One, it increases your calculation speed. Okay, that is for sure. And try to solve the full book in like in 15 days, 20 days, or something like that. So if you are solving quant only day and night, so in 20 days or 15 days you will get a calculation habit, and it will increase your calculation speed. In today's era, when we are seeing very difficult quant questions, calculation speed and calculation accuracy is very important. That is one. Second, once you are done with RS Agarwal, because it is a very basic book, and you won't see direct questions from RS Agarwal or in anything. But the basics RS Agarwal makes, it clears all your basics regarding all kinds of topics. So, and if your basics are clear, it is much easier to jump to the next level. But it is very difficult if you simply start with the high level questions and your basics are not clear. So it will be like aage dod piche chod.
Okay. So, sir, can we say that for basics, anyone can start with any basic book like R.S. Agrawal and then
Yeah,
slowly they can move ahead with let's say CAT books or the mock test which are providing the questions of higher level.
exactly.
Okay. And so nowadays we are seeing that people are failing in phase one not due to they are not able to clear the overall cutoff, but they are failing to clear the sectional cutoff of either quant or reasoning. So as we are discussing about quant, so if somebody who is not very good in quant, so what should be their strategy so that they can just clear that sectional cutoff comfortably?
Exactly. Look, I already said that you have
Yeah.
to focus on 10 marks. Okay. And more or less similar kind of questions will be there. So the type of question is same. You have to focus on that type of questions which you find much easier to solve, which you are comfortable with, and you have to solve 50, 100 questions of that particular type of questions. It will help you in like in clearing that sectional cutoff. Plus, one more thing is there. People put lots of hard work and all those things, but still they are not able to clear. There comes the, like, it is a game of nerves, I'll say, because when we enter the examination hall, you should keep one thing in mind, that this is just an exam and you will not lose your life if you will fail in this exam. That is very important. If you will go with this mindset, you will be able to hold your nerves. Okay, you will not panic in the exam, because panicking is something which I have seen in recent years, because exam is getting tougher. When exam was easier, people didn't panic. They'll go and they'll simply jump. They'll start
Yes.
solving each and every question. But today, what happens? They give 5 minutes to a question, and then they come to know that, oh, I won't be able to do that question. And then they simply think, I have lost 5 minutes of my exam. And then they're, no, uh, they feel very tense and panicked. And once you have panicked, you have lost your senses, then there is no way out. You have to breathe and you have to again come back to your senses, that yes, you can do it. That belief is needed. So that is very important. I have seen people who have scored really well in 2019, in 2021, in 2022 also they have scored pretty well in prelims. But in 2023 they were not able to, because the level of exam has increased. Again, I will repeat the thing. You need to assess the level in there in the examination hall, and you have to re-strategize in the examination hall itself. So that is one thing which one should keep in their minds. This is not the end if your exam is not going as per your expectations. One thing. Second, you don't know the level of exam, so you can't put that I am not able to do 10 questions of quants now, I'll fail. No, there, no. If you are able to do 5 questions, 6 questions, and all six are correct, then still you will be able to clear mostly. That is also the case now, because you don't know what others are doing. So third, if exam is no, if the level of exam is very very high, so it is difficult for each and every aspirant who is appearing. It is not only difficult for you, such kind of mentality. And that is why I used to post those long yarns before films. So that is one thing.
Okay, so working on mental strength is equally important as solving the questions. So, if with this, if we have to talk about the reasoning strategy, then sir, what was your strategy for attempting the reasoning questions?
Okay, so I'll thank experience from these many years I have been appearing for phase one. So that experience helped me this time. And okay, I'll share. In 2018, I was not at all comfortable with puzzles. So I solved all the known puzzles in 2018. I scored 32 marks in reasoning. In 2019, I worked on myself. I was comfortable with puzzles. So I solved all the puzzles and some of the known puzzles in 2019, and I scored 32.25 marks. So there was just an increase of 0.25 marks. So the moral of the story is, if you are comfortable with puzzles, go for puzzles. If you are comfortable with known puzzles, go for known puzzles. But for the rainy day, you should also practice the thing which you are not that much comfortable with. So this year, what happened that I was confident about my critical reasoning. So I did, I think, 5 questions of critical reasoning. There were 8, but I was able to solve only 5. 3 I was not able to. So I think all 5 were correct. So critical reasoning was the section which has saved me this year. I scored 12, I think 12 in reasoning.
In reasoning.
So
Okay.
yeah, so I solved critical reasoning and single questions.
Okay.
Those were, I didn't attempt any puzzles. I think there was one question of blood relations that I solved. Machine input output was easy, but I think 2 minutes were remaining when I reached machine input output. So I was not able to solve that as well.
Okay. Sir, critical reasoning is one area where a lot of people find that the accuracy might not be good. So, how one can approach the critical reasoning so that they can increase the accuracy level and they can grab some marks out of these questions?
Actually, critical reasoning, it is very vast thing. So any kind of question can come from critical reasoning. So it is better to practice as much as possible. Actually, critical reasoning is all about practice only. If you're reading newspaper, because the sentences, no, the passage they have taken in the critical reasoning, they are more or less related to some newspapers, some magazines or something like that. So it is better with newspaper reading daily. It enhances your accuracy in critical reasoning also. Plus, if you are solving critical reasoning again, practice mock provides very good critical reasoning questions, because I knew before phase one the mocks I attempted. In mock one, I solved I think 6 to 7 critical reasoning, and I was able to only one was correct out of 7. So a big dhakka for me during that first mock. But I was confident about critical reasoning because I was reading newspapers and all those things. So I worked. Actually, I solved all 6. I tried to figure out what was the reasoning they were following in those practice mocks. Then in second, 3 or 4 were correct, and by the fourth or fifth mock, 8 out of 8 were correct. And at that time, I knew that I'll focus on critical reasoning. So practice
Okay.
is very important, specifically in critical reasoning.
Okay. And sir, if as we discussed that one can go either with the puzzles or with the non-puzzle questions. But sir, if we are looking at the current trend, not only RBI, but if we look at this PO exams, IBPS PO mains, SBI PO mains, then nowadays the question paper is full of puzzles. So sometimes the people are not left with any choice other than solving the puzzles. So those who are very uncomfortable with the puzzle, so how should they go with it?
Actually, they have to identify two or three kinds of puzzles which they have to solve if the question paper is full of puzzles. So it can be that floor kind of puzzles. It can be seating arrangement, direction wala puzzle can be there. Then time oriented puzzles are also there. So at least two kind of puzzles you should identify which you will be able to solve. Plus, while solving puzzles, no, at least one puzzle is there which is doable. In RBI, if I say there are, I think there will be 6 to 7 puzzles, and at least one puzzle will be solvable. Others will be moderate to difficult, but one will be easy to moderate, and that one you have to identify because you have 45 minutes, you have plenty of time to score 20, 12, 15 marks in reasoning. So that one puzzle you should identify. You should focus on number of variables. If number of variables are high in puzzle, you should try to leave that in the first go. And if you are not able to find any puzzle doable, then you can take your chances. But first thing should be to choose a puzzle which has less number of variables because it will be comparatively easy to solve.
Okay, so that's very tightly said by Sir. Like in quant and reasoning, choosing the strengths and weakness, understanding them is the main role, like main thing. And since then there are certain people who are preparing, let's say for 2 years, 3 years, and they are not beginners, but then too they are not able to see a significant improvement in their QRE. So what should be done by such people so that they are able to cross that initial phase one hurdle of RBI? Like what was your way of analyzing the mock or any suggestion for such people?
So only one suggestion I have because I think totally it is totally in my point of view. I don't say that everyone will be doing this because what happens for some people the threshold of quantum reasoning is a bit higher. It takes time for them to reach that level. But the thing is, 2 or 3 months of practicing quants and reasoning, sometimes that is not enough. And after, say, 30 or 40 days, when you are practicing quants or kind of puzzles, reasoning, and you are not able to solve, so you lose your heart. You start, procrastinating that, okay, I'll look at quantum reasoning later on. I'll do, but later on. In that later on, that you have missed the train actually. So that is the thing. You have to be very, very consistent with your efforts. Once you have reached that threshold, you don't need much more practice after that. So that threshold, till that threshold, you have to keep practicing. And if you don't believe in this idea, I'll simply suggest take one kind of question which you are not, comfortable with, and do only that one kind of question 1 hour or 1.5 hour for 1 month. And if you are not able to do after 1 month, then I don't know what to suggest actually, because that is only thing which I can suggest. And I have seen people working on only one thing again and again, and they'll be able to solve that kind of question. It will be difficult because you have to keep your patience for 30-35 days solving only one kind of question. It takes time, but again, that is the only way. There is no shortcut.
Okay, that is rightly said by Sir. So, as we have covered all the aspects of quant and reasoning, so if we talk about English, then what was your approach for English?
English, no, it is totally based on your reading. You are reading novels, you are reading newspaper, you are reading textbooks. That would suffice for English. But the thing is, if you are not following anything, if you're not reading newspaper, and if you are only solving mocks, then it will be pretty difficult. Plus, okay, this is one more thing. When you solve a mock, say practice mock, only you are solving. So don't take those marks like as your final marks. If you are solving your mock 01 and you are getting 50 marks out of 200 and you lose heart, oh, I won't be able to do it. English में 10 number ही आ रहे हैं, कैसे होगा? So that is not the thing, because practice mock वाला mock is not equal to actual RBI का phase 1 ka paper. So you have to, like, mock is just mock, and mock is important for assessing your preparation. So it helps you improve yourself. It is not the final this verdict. Okay, so that is one approach. It is also very important. I also scored 8 or 9 in English this year
Mm.
in mock. Yeah, but eventually I scored 24 or 20, 24.75 in English in phase 1. So that is one thing. English especially, I'm saying, RBI phase 1 ke English is much easier as compared to mocks, and it is one area which can help you cross the overall cut.
That is true, sir. But if we talk about English, then in English, like if we talk about quant and reasoning, so people can solve that kind of questions and they can understand. But English is an area, it's like either somebody is really good at it, or there are people who struggle a lot, but still they are not able to perform that great in English. So, what such kind of people can do so that they can at least take their English score to a point where they get 17, 18, or let's say 20 out of 30?
So extensive reading is the only thing I think which can help. Uh, okay, I'm sharing my this journey itself. In 2016, okay, CAT, I scored 99.4 percentile in reasoning. I scored 90, I think, in quants, and in English I scored 46 percentile.
Okay.
So, coming from 46 percentile to scoring 25 or 24.25, so extensive reading was the only thing here. If you read extensively, you will be able to score in English, because the things, no, whatever has been asked from the passage or whatever kind of things are there, all those things, if you are reading, you don't even need to cross check. The answer will come to you because you have been reading for extensively. So that is the key for English.
Okay. So reading and having patience until you reach that point. Okay. And sir, if we talk about your like how you used to analyze a mock after taking it, what was your way?
Okay, so okay, I solved a mock. Then in first mock I got 42 marks. So I was not that, like, much confident in GA because I haven't read at that point of time. So QRE, I scored, I think, 42, and I skipped this GA wala part. So what I did, I tried to analyze what kind of questions I did, what questions in that 25 minutes, what kind of questions were wrong, what kind of questions were right, and how much time did I take for a specific kind of question. Then after that, after solving the mock, like after submitting the mock, I started my timer stopwatch on my mobile, and then I solved the whole quant portion, and then whole reasoning, and then whole English portion, which whatever question which I was not able to solve during the actual mock, I solved after that. And again, I recorded the time taken for a kind of question. Then it helps you in telling which area you are strong. As I already said, I was strong in DI, so I worked in every kind of DI, on every kind of DI, such that I'll be able to solve whatever kind of DI they give in the exam. So that was my approach, okay, for DI. But I think there were three DI. I was able to solve one DI only, because the second wala DI, it was easy. But I, again, I didn't simply jump to DI, because I had this assumption, again, that was a very bad thing on my part in exam. So I assumed that there will be only two DI. So first five questions were DI, 6 to 10 question was also DI, and then the third DI was 26 to 30 number question.
Okay.
So I solved the first one. Second one I left because I saw it will take much more time. So I left, and then I 11th, 12th single questions I started to do, and 12
Okay.
questions I in total I did. And when 30 or 40 seconds were remaining, then I reached question number 26,
Okay.
and oh, then I was disappointed. But you know, in those 40 seconds also I solved the question number one of that DI.
Okay.
So that was the case. So you have to analyze your strengths and work on your strengths. If you're strong in an area, make that area strongest for you so that you don't lose a single mark in that specific area.
Okay. And so, what about the areas in which a person is not at all comfortable? Like, if we talk about the probability, mensuration, this permutation and combination, so people generally skip these type of topics. But then we are seeing that the questions are coming from here as well. So, how one should go for the topics in which they are weak or they are not that comfortable?
Okay, so if you are comfortable to some extent, okay, then practice as many questions as possible so that you make that comfortability a bit higher. If you're not at all comfortable with the kind of question, then focus on 15 marks or say 12 marks in quants. And if you say, I'll be able to solve this DI, I'll be able to solve this simplification wala question, irrespective of the level of question, then you can skip. As simple
Okay.
as that. Yeah. So at least 12 to 15 marks wala questions you should focus on. And if you have reached that 15 questions, yeah, I'll be able to solve irrespective of the level of question, then you are there. You have reached that point that you can skip other kinds of questions. But you have to assess now that you have reached that like that kind of level in those kind of questions. That takes you know it should not be a proper guess. It You should feel it from the inside that any kind of DI or any kind of this type of question you can solve. Only then when you it comes from the inside, please, before that, do not skip anything else. If you will get some very easy question from mensuration and then you will say, okay, he has said that so that won't be helpful actually. It is there are very permutations or so many permutations and combinations in phase 1 itself, and phase 1
True.
is the most difficult part in RBI.
That is true. So, Sir has helped us with almost everything which one needs in the phase one. So, we'll slowly move towards the phase two. But before that, I would like to ask, Sir, as you already had a very good job and you had a favorable posting and you had good work life balance. So, what was the factor that kept you pushing that no, I have to appear in the RBI and I have to clear this exam?
Okay. So my wife was there. She was pushing me actually. I was sitting totally comfort in the comfort zone, totally in comfortable position near my home as well, some 100 150 kilometers, and I didn't want much to do now. Like it was okay. I'll simply guide. I'll mentor people, and that would be it on my part. But then she said that. Okay, she simply said that okay, you should try at least. So if you score well, your whoever no the people you are mentoring, they will also get a push. So okay, I said I'll appear for it. So I failed the exam, but I didn't tell anyone other than her. Even my parents didn't know. So then once I have failed, then she said, okay, you have failed the exam, so it won't be good now if you will simply go and sit there. At least read something. So she manipulated me in a way, and somehow I started. Also, there's this thing when you have worked very hard for something, your dream job, and when you haven't reached there, so there is one feeling there. So you want to reach that point. So that was also there, but that fire, it was extinguished somehow. So my wife, she helped me in again starting that.
Okay, and then you ended up like not only clearing but getting all India rank one. So that is really commendable. And sir, like there are a lot of people in our community who are working aspirants and they have really hectic job. So how one can manage their time with job, like how they should devote the time and how they should manage with that minimal time so that they can also clear the exam.
Okay, so if one knows this concept of sleeper cells, so those are kind of, I think, terrorists or something who are residing in an area, doing their daily chores, not doing anything, and when some call comes to them, they'll be ready to do anything. So I'm not asking anyone to be like sleeper cells, but the concept I am talking about. For 1 year, I was only following newspaper and PIB, and that also for the purpose of sharing. So before sharing, I go through the newspaper. So I have this subscription of Business Standard. So whatever news, I read the heading and just two three more lines. If I find it relevant to the exam, I simply download it. So four or five news on daily basis. After downloading, I read the full news, then I rename it with the heading of the news, and then I post. So it was the process. And same goes with PIB. If I find the heading and two, three more lines, I'll read. If I find it important, I'll simply share the link. So after sharing the link, I'll read it. So I was in touch. And in 2021, in 2022, I have already shared this. I was not, I like it was a very bad phase in my life because of the health issues. So I was, disheartened as well. Okay, so mentally as well as physically, I was in a low stage. So that at that time I started sharing all those things because it provided me an escape, a deviation from whatever was happening. So that was one thing. So for 1 year I was like a sleeper cell. I'll simply wake up, I'll read newspaper, I'll read PIB, I'll share that. That's it. I didn't do anything else. But the thing is, whatever happened in that 1 year, from news perspective, from ESI, FM perspective, I was totally aware of all those things. Okay. After recovering, also, whenever some discussion was going on in the group, so I was totally like aware of that happening. So that was one thing because I was following this thing from 1 or 1.5 years. So for working aspirants, I'm saying do follow your newspaper and PIB on daily basis. It doesn't take more than 1 hour. It doesn't take more than 1 hour. Follow PIB and Business Standard or any finance newspaper for that sake, and follow it religiously and follow it on the basis of the syllabus. And you don't need to follow it. The other news you don't need to follow because there are news on politics and all. So you don't need all those kind of news. So if you are following, so I am saying 50 or 60% of news is already covered
Okay.
in your mind. And once the notification is out, just like sleeper cells, you should change your routine, wake up at 4, read till like 8, 9, whatever time, 4 or 4.5 hours in the morning and in the evening also, because you have to work that way only, because that is the only key. Till notification, you can simply do newspaper, PIB. On weekends, you can go for quant reasoning if you are not that confident, not comfortable in quant and reasoning. So you can do all those kinds of things. But once the notification is out, you should be out of your shell and you have to prepare wholeheartedly for the exam.
Okay. But sir, suppose if somebody has just started and let's say they are not that good in quant and reasoning also, and they also have to bear the baggage of finance management, they have to understand ESI, then how such people should approach?
So they should utilize weekends for
Okay.
working aspirants. Weekends, I'll simply say read Ramesh Singh. If you are not thorough with economy is the basis of finance as well.
True.
So you should know the economy, the economics actually. So Indian economy by Ramesh Singh you should go through, or or any textbook I am saying for that purpose. Any text economic Indian economy related textbook will help you in clearing your basics. Once your basics are clear, and it won't take more, I think it is 400 500 pager book, Ramesh Singh. And if you are reading, but the thing is now, if you are thinking that I'll utilize my weekends, that means you should utilize your weekends. It doesn't mean that you wake up at 12 and then read till 4. That won't help. So again, the dedication and consistency comes here. So if you have decided something, you should follow that irrespective of the situations. If there is if there is some situation, emergency is there, that is understandable to each and every person. But you can't be ignoring that your schedule for any second thing happening. So that should not be the case. If you have decided, you should follow it religiously. I have seen people who decide, giving example of my the closed loop itself. So many people I had to remove because they are giving n number of excuses. आज उनको काम आ गया है ऑफिस में, कल वो बीमार हो गए हैं, and then something and then something and then something. So one can't be busy for 10 days, because and it can be the case sometimes it happens, and I have added those people again, but it can't be case with everyone na? So
Hmm.
that is the thing, you have to take your dedication to that level. That is
Okay.
one thing. And reading textbooks is very, very good if you are not good with basics. Economy, read economy first, followed by finance and then management. It will really help you. And finance, even if you don't need, if you don't have any textbook, that is okay. You can follow Investopedia and you can simply Google the keywords mentioned in the syllabus. But economy, you need a textbook if you're not thorough with the things.
Okay, so that is rightly said. And sir, let's say if somebody is giving a lot, like they have shown a lot of dedication and they are doing everything, but still if they are consistently failing by some or other reason in any of the phase, then how one should handle that and how they should keep moving in the journey?
Look, it is very tricky again, because we never know. If you are appearing for an exam 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, uh, no one can assure that you will clear the exam for sure. So you have to take your chances. And if you still feel that you want to prepare for RBI and something like that, then you should, because there it should not be half heartedly done. If you want to do it, you should try, you should exhaust all the attempts. That's what I think. I This philosophy is there, that you should believe in the process, and I have been doing this for 4 years now. So I believed in the process the way it has it, like, if it is destiny, if you have to do it, if you are supposed to do it, eventually you will do it. So that is the case. But again, with hard work, there is this tinge of luck you need in such exams. So that is also a harsh reality, I would say. Uh, but again, if you give your 100, more than 100%, you will be satisfied at the end of the day. So even if you are not able to clear the exam, you should be satisfied that I have given my best. In that case, you will not be no regretting anything. That is one case. Plus, if you want, no, every person has some priorities in their lives. So I was employed, I said I was in comfort zone. At that point, I appeared for it again. So if you don't have job and you want job, you should focus on a job first. Then you should focus on your dreams. Because okay, uh, whenever we talk about philosophy, it is very easy to say कि हाँ अपने सपनों के पीछे सपने वो होते हैं जो सोने नहीं देता, and all those things. That is all right. All those things are correct, but uh, economic stability, financial stability is very, very important in a person's life. And in today's era, we know there are lack of opportunities and a vast young population in India. So it is much better from my perspective if you try to grab a job first and then try to prepare for RBI or say SEBI or UPSC, because the level of the probability of success is very less in such exams. So try to take a job first, and after that, one should look to fulfill his or her dreams. That would be my advice, because many times such exams are very tricky. If you are failing by 0.25 in a sectional, so what will be the case? You will be totally heartbroken, and you won't be able to even appear for other exams. So that is one thing. Also, if you don't have job, appear for such exams, no exams
Hmm.
which have similar syllabus. So try to appear for each and every exam. So that is one thing. Second thing, I also believe in saturation point. I have said this thing because I don't know why do I believe in this philosophy, but I think I have seen people, and I have experienced this in my life as well. Around me, people have done this, so they are not able to crack any exam, and all of a sudden they crack three, four, five exams. So there is a saturation point in your life. I don't know from which perspective I should say, from hard work's perspective or from luck's perspective or from dedication's perspective, that I don't know. There can be a number of parameters, but there is a saturation point. Till that point you have to keep your patience, but once that point has come, you will be able to crack the exam. If that point comes after the eligibility age, again you will succeed in your life for sure. That is one thing I believe in. And the anchor, the host today here, is an example. Last year she cracked three exams, one after another.
Yeah, that I would agree, sir. Like even I myself could not clear the RBI prelims for like two times, and as you said, I also missed the sectional cutoff and cleared the overall cutoff. But this year, then I was able to clear both the SBI exams, SIDB, then RBI. So everything happened back to back, and like it looks magical sometimes. So I would definitely say that we should keep working until we reach, but at the same time, having some practical decisions in between is important. So with this, we shall move towards the phase two strategy and the
Sure.
sources. Okay, so first we'll start with the finance and management. Like, what were your sources and how did you strategize these sections?
Okay, so finance and management. Again, finance and management, static portion is a bit less in finance, but the major portion which comes in exam is current affairs based only. So business standard, pause, and affairs cloud. These were the only sources I followed. And in business standard, this 7 years of Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, Suraksha Bima Yojana, it came repeating. It was repeating again and again, so many days. And a very good article. A good question was there. 5 questions, 2 markers, directly from these schemes came for social security schemes which were there in the
Yeah.
news. So I didn't need anything specifically for finance. I simply followed business standard and face cloud. If some news was there, again repeating. If some circular for say RBI circular is there, repeating again and again. So if 4 or 5 times some news has repeated, I'll simply go to the website. I'll download that circular. The starting K 3 or 4 pages which are there in the circular, I made notes. That's it. So that was the only thing I did for finance, nothing else. And for management, I followed LM Prasad. And for ethics and all, I followed BN Ghosh. But very selectively, I studied both of these books, LM Prasad and BN Ghosh. And these are very good books from a management's point of management subject ka point of view. That is it for objective part. Now, when we talk about subjective part, so practice is the key again, answer writing practice. And I again want to thank you, Anmol. You were the one who evaluated my answers for ESI and FM. I think 16 or 20 days or 25 days, I sent you answers on daily basis, and you provided me a proper lengthy feedback. So that was the key. Answer writing is the key, because I was not in touch at all for answer writing. I was evaluating your answers, so I knew the areas which I need to work on. I'll repeat again. So there are some of the areas we should see. One is structure. So IBC approach, introduction, body, and conclusion should be followed in answer writing descriptive questions I am talking about. So then in introduction, you should introduce the topic, whichever topic is there in the question. And in conclusion, you should try to summarize the gist of your answer. Then in body part, you should actually address the question asked. Okay, then comes flow. So flow means your introduction, your body, and your conclusion should be connected. It should not be like you are giving introduction, then there should not be abrupt closure of any part of the question. All the parts should be connected. Then comes clarity, and clarity is very very important. Okay, people do not read questions, or like they do not read question properly. बस दो लाइन पढ़ के they just make something out of their head and they simply start typing because the time crunch is there in the exam. So it is obvious, but you have to inculcate this habit. Read, take your time. 1.5 minute is all right. You should take 1.5 minute in reading the question. 2 or 3 times you should read the question, and for next 1.5 minute you should frame it on the paper. They provide you rough sheets, just points that I'll write introduction, I'll write definition, and for example poverty is there, I'll write deprivation of basic needs and all those things. Then simply you put the second heading that I'll write these points, and then I'll conclude like this. That should be the key. And clarity means you should address the question directly the question. Read it, feel it, and write whatever is asked. No need to deviate your answer at all. So these three things are there: IBC approach, structure, flow, clarity. Then the content comes, and in the end, try to answer in points wherever possible, because it is much easier for the examiner to evaluate your answers. Plus, if you write in points now, your content is highlighted, so the person knows, yeah, you know about the things. So this is the approach one should follow in answering the questions. And look, in finance, in management, they asked, I think, 14 principles of Henry Fayol this time.
Wonderful.
And somehow we had practiced this question in our private group.
Yeah,
So
true.
I knew 11 or 12 of those principles. So I mentioned 11 principles. Three were extra were there, but I wrote that there are three more principles, and that's it. That's what I wrote in the exam. Then other question was on UPI credit line. Like,
Yeah.
so if you are reading the newspaper now, you can very easily write some of the things. You can
Yeah.
write that it will save your time, it will increase the convenience to the customers, it will enhance the access to credit. All these lines on daily basis, I am saying, are there in the newspaper. So a few keywords, if you're reading newspaper, you will be able to write in the exam. The only prerequisite condition is you have practiced answer writing. You know the structure, flow, clarity. These some of the things which you will be you have to keep in mind, and then you can write any answer. Even if you don't know any answer, you can frame that answer. Instead of 600, you will write 450 or 500 words, but you will be able to write.
That is true, sir. And sir, if I have to ask about your sources for finance static portion, then what were your sources?
Actually, this year I didn't follow any source for finance static. Earlier, I had read Bharti V. Pathak, but this year I didn't. No, not a single thing. Yes, I had followed this IGNU ka notes for the
Okay.
ratios, the financial ratios, because I was expecting numericals or so, but I think there was one
No,
or
there was just one question.
so that's it, nothing else. And finance, because my experience, according to it, and also whatever I have observed in the group from last few years, finance static, they are asking very less finance static, and if they are asking, it is very basic in nature. So that is why I didn't specifically followed anything for finance static. Only current affairs I focused on, plus RBI circulars and schemes.
Okay, sir. Sir, I agree that people who have their base in the finance, they can skip the static, but those who are just starting their preparation, so it's not wise for them to skip the finance statics altogether because it forms the base. But if we look, like I myself struggled when I started reading with the books, and I have also seen a lot of aspirants asking that even if they are going with the coaching materials, the materials are so vast that they find it difficult that where do they need to stop. So while reading the books, how did you decide that where you have to stop or that is it? You don't need to read beyond it.
Okay, so for that you need to again thorough with the syllabus. If you are thorough with the syllabus now, if there is a keyword there, If it talks about derivative, you read the definition of derivatives, you read the types of derivatives, and that's it. You don't need to go beyond that. What is derivative? Why is it needed? And what is this the types of derivatives? That's it. And okay, if you find it difficult, okay, I'll make it much more easier. The questions we have shared on we learn here related to static portion, even if you do those questions, na, that would be, I think, enough.
True.
So you stick to whatever has been asked in that question. And nowadays we have done this thing that if we find a topic very vast, so we give you two questions on that topic and we put a or in between. So either you do this one or you do that one. So we are trying to cover each and everything which can be asked in the exam. So that can be one thing. If you don't want to follow that, the questions from we learn here, you can see, you should simply stick to the syllabus. If a keyword is there, just read about that keyword, the types, and why is it needed. Only that, the basic thing. And if there is something which, like if some topic is there, for example, I think recent developments in the financial sector in India, that is also
Yes.
one topic. So it covers a lots of things, but major portion of recent developments comes under current affairs. So in that case, you have to be thorough with each and everything which has happened in last 8 to 9 months.
Okay. So basically, knowing the syllabus, keywords, and reading around that should be the priority. That would suffice most of the things, and maybe clearing the concepts should be the way out. Like if
Yes,
somebody is reading derivatives or bonds, then understanding it is more important. And
exactly.
sir, if I have to ask, like the questions which came on ethics this year. So if one is reading the different theories of ethics and all, that is one thing. But then they ask the question which asked about the policy. If you have to make policy, then how one can answer such type of questions properly?
Okay, so when you are sitting in exam hall, you got a question that you need to frame a policy on ethics in an organization. So one thing, nobody knows the answer of this question. Just put this thing in your mind. If you don't know, nobody else knows in the exam hall. If you know, everyone else knows. That should be the mentality. So I also read the question. I knew, I don't know. It means nobody knows. So I'll frame, everybody is framing. So I framed somehow. I again, IVC approach I followed. In introduction, I gave the introduction of business ethics. Okay, then we talked, then I said that following can be some of the points which can be followed. This is the process. So number one, what can be the thing? Look, uh, how do we frame a policy? Like you have to think at that point in exam, and you have to just put some of the points on paper. Like before framing any policy, what do? We do questionnaire, we do survey. So हमने एक survey किया in the organization itself. And before survey, I think I wrote literature review. So one thing should be analyze what all business ethic policies are there in the other organizations. Then there will be survey of the employees. What do they think is ethics according to them, and what should be there in do's and don'ts in an organization. Then third will be the framing. Then we framed it, and then number more would be the draft, releasing the draft, and again asking for the suggestions from the employees and the stakeholders. So something like that I wrote. Some stakeholder analysis also I wrote in the exam. So that is also one thing. Look, in descriptive, the basic thing is you have to attempt the question. And I have told in the group as well to Anmol before the mains that you should attempt irrespective of the answer, irrespective of the word limit. You should not leave the question.
True.
That is one thing. Second thing is, if you don't know anything, you should just sit, eyes closed 1 minute. You will be able to think. You have got that mind, you have cleared prelims, you are sitting in the mains, so you will be able to frame something. So that self belief you have to bring, and then you have to write the answer in such questions.
Okay. So using common sense. Like RBI is testing the common sense as well these days, other than the knowledge. So, sir, going on these lines, if we talk about the speeches, the RBI circulars, notifications, so how one should cover the circulars, notifications for how many months it should be done. Uh, if you make notes out of it, then what has to be included in the notes? And I also want to ask, like, did you cover the speeches for phase two as well?
Okay, I didn't cover speeches for phase two, but if some speech was in news in newspaper, it automatically got covered because I used to read
Hmm.
newspaper. That is one thing. Second, following notifications and circulars, try to follow at least for 8 to 9 months, and even after reading for 8 to 9 months the circulars, we are not sure, they may ask from anywhere. I think 2021 ka circular they asked
Yeah.
this time on corporate governance. But
Yeah.
again I am saying finance and management, now it is more or less it is doable. So from that, if you are thorough with the syllabus, if you knew the keyword corporate governance and that it is there in the syllabus, you read the whole passage, you will know that it is from corporate governance only, because other options na they were easily eliminated. So
Yeah.
that was one thing. Second, 8 to 9 months, I'll suggest at least 8 to 9 months RBI circulars and notifications. And if you are following newspaper, if one circular uh, they have released, it is in news, there are many editorials, and some to second or third day they are talking about the impact of that circular. So if something in news for 3 or 4 days, then do not rely on news itself, simply go to the website, download the circular, and in the initial 4 or 5 pages the majority of new information you will get. There is no need to go in very like in deep in the circular, because circular may be of 60-70 pages. So initial 4 or 5 pages would be enough, but only download the circular if it is too much in news, else the newspaper will cater the
Okay.
major information. Also, at least 2 months before the mains, you should download all the circulars
Okay.
and be thorough with those.
Okay, so basically, for 2 months, everything has to be done. For other than that, whatever is coming in the newspaper, and if something is very frequent, then we have to download the circular. And for big circulars, only initial 4 5 pages has to be done. So this is how we have to cover the circulars and notification. So we have covered almost all the things related to finance and management. One more thing, sir, in management, there are a lot of theories, and it points it looks like that all the management theories are alike. So how one can distinguish between them so that reading the management part becomes easy?
Okay, so for that you can make notes. That would be much easier thing. We used to make memory frames, not now but earlier. So memory frames are very important, very efficient when we talk about retaining the differences between the theories and all. So simply make a frame, and that 2 3 kinds of arrows from that circle you are taking out, and then making one more circle in which you name uh, the theory 1, then theory 2, theory 3, and the major points which you think, only 2 or 3 points, not more than that. You don't need to make notes of full theory, so you only need to distinguish between the theory.
Okay.
So if that keyword is clicked in exam hall, okay, so that was the thing which was the difference. The whole everything else will come to your mind eventually. So that will be the thing. So that distinguishing wala area, for that you need to make a memory frame or note, and that thing you need to revise again and
Okay. So that is right, sir. And as we have discussed that the dynamic portion of finance is coming, so is it wise that people skip the static part altogether for the finance section? Those who have already read it and their concepts are clear.
yes. Yeah, that is totally fine for those who have experience, no, of appearing for such exams, and those who think that their basics are clear, they can skip the static part. But if you are a beginner, I won't recommend skipping this thing, because in descriptive part as well, and in many questions, because it is very difficult that you have covered that question. Because there is lots of material is there in on the internet, on Telegram, and you can't cover everything. And even if you have covered, you can't retain everything. So there are chances that you have to make informed guesses in exam, and those informed guess, that is possible only if your basics are clear. So if you have cleared your basics, your finance you have studied earlier, you are confident enough with static, it is okay to skip. But if you are a beginner, you don't know much about finance, I won't recommend at all. You should go through Bharti Pathak is very good book in this for finance. And even if I'm saying for finance you don't need a book, you simply go use Google, use Investopedia, that will be more than enough to clear your basics as well.
Okay, okay. So that is very well summed up by the sir. So if we move towards the ESI, so as we were talking about the static part of finance, in the similar manner, very less things are asked from the ESI static as well. So a lot of people ask that is it even worth reading the ESI static, or like is it okay to skip the ESI static portion as well?
Again, if you are thorough with the basics, you can skip. Else, even if you are like very much confident about the ESI static, that I have read it, I'll be able to do something, then you can skip. And else, there is no need to skip ESI static, specifically economy related static, because when you are reading newspaper, you will not be able to know whatever has been talked about in that news if you haven't gone through the basics. And many a times I have seen people, they are asking what is like what are they talking about in this editorial, or what are they talking about in this article. We are not able to figure out because the basics are not clear. That is very important. If you are thorough with the basics of economy is the base for finance as well. So with one ek tir se do nishan hai, you should be thorough with economy basics. Even if you are talking about GDP, GNP, fiscal deficit, all these things seem no, they seem very easy. But if one question comes and you have to define fiscal deficit, many of us won't be able to do it. So be thorough with economy basics, and for beginners it is very important. Economics basics is very important, although it is a generalist post, but most of the work done by RBI revolves around finance and economy.
Okay, so it means we have to at least until we reach a point where all our concepts are clear, until that point we have to cover the basics. And sir, what role does the static portion plays in this ESI static, sorry, in the descriptive part?
Okay, so descriptive part, this time it was dynamic in nature, but in 2022, in 2021, static questions were there. So it is very important. Also, the questions which we are again posting on the channel, you can solve those as well. And economy static helps you in the interview as well.
True.
So it is something which is no, the counter, the encounter with economy static, it is inevitable. Either in phase one or phase two or interview, you will be asked questions on economics and economy, actually macroeconomics majorly. So that is very important. And for working as well, if you are working in RBI, you should be thorough with whatever is happening in the around in macroeconomy, and you will be able to know whatever is happening there if you are thorough with the basics. Also, the question was regarding descriptive. So the keywords again, poverty is there, poverty elevation is there. So poverty you should know about, poverty elevation you should know about, some aspects of poverty and poverty alleviation. So one step more, if keyword is talking about poverty, you should go one step more, poverty and the other aspects of poverty, multidimensionality of poverty. If it is talking about poverty alleviation, so poverty alleviation and initiatives taken by government of India on poverty alleviation, plus uh, the sectors like in economic aspect, what are the initiatives in political, what are the in social, what are the initiatives like that. Poverty estimation. So the poverty line estimation, there are many they had been committees, many committees on this,
Yeah.
Tendulkar committee, Rangarajan committee. So you should know about the committees plus the recent two. Tendulkar committee is very important because we follow that till date.
Yeah.
So Tendulkar committee ka recommendations you should know thoroughly. Then Rangarajan was the recent one which had given its recommendation.
Yeah.
So that should also be known because they can ask, even they can simply ask the difference between the two.
Yeah.
So that should be the approach, the keyword, and one step more than the keyword. People have been asking till what point we should read.
Yeah.
So for all the subjects, the keyword that should be thoroughly covered plus one more step. That's it.
Okay. Sir, as we are talking about the descriptive, so I would like to ask you from this year's point of view. If we talk about ESI, then the questions directly came from the reports, and the questions were very dynamic. Like the report based on this urbanization and migration, it came. The report based on the women, UN women, that report came. And there might be the case that one person has not even went through that report even once. So for such kind of paper, which is the recent trend, so how one has to handle with that? Like how should be the
Okay.
preparation?
Look, unpredictability is the feature of ESI, specifically in RBI Grade-B exam. So there is no no way which you can handle if you haven't read about anything. But the thing is, if you don't know about report, you will be knowing about the keyword. So that is one way to handle such questions. There was this World Development Report wala question, and they have told that it is on migration. So what were the features of that report? So if you don't know anything, you can simply say World Development Report hai, फलाने organization ने निकाली है. It is on migration, and migration का India के perspective में you can say some of the things. Plus, uh, sometimes what happened na, I yesterday also I told this, that UNDP wala report was there, and they told that there is this report released by UNDP on women empowerment, and there are three major areas which have been covered in that report: economic, social, and political. So later on, they asked that what are various initiatives taken by government of India on those aspects.
Yeah.
And after the exam, people were saying, "Oh, they have asked the UNDP report, the actual report they have asked, and from where we will write." So you have to read the question 2-3 times, and that was not the case. It was doable because they didn't ask anything from the report. So that is one thing. Second, report on currency and finance. It was released by RBI. So if RBI releases a major report, it is very, very important, including that financial stability report and trends and
Yeah.
progress report. Yeah, these are very important reports, and you have to be ready for descriptive on such questions. And I am also giving, I don't know how will IBPS ask questions next year, but be ready for a descriptive question on a scheme now.
Yeah. That can happen because it is happening in NABARD as well. Like the questions have been asked on the scheme, so we can expect it in RBI as well. And sir, if, moving towards the schemes part, as we have covered the descriptive section from both static and dynamic point of view. So moving towards the schemes, so that is one section which scares the people most because there are hell lot of schemes and there is too much data, there are so many facts, and then the questions are like multiple options are there and there are so many liners. So how you should do the schemes, like ek ministry pe jaake whatever schemes are there, we have to make notes from there, or we have to refer any compilation, or the schemes which are in news and PIB sirf wahi schemes karni chahiye. Like what is the right way to handle this section?
I can see the pain on your face of these schemes. Actually, schemes portion na, it has haunted me, every aspirant, I think.
True.
But the thing is, there are some of the schemes which directly relates to economy and social aspect, ESI. When we talk about ESI, so there are 9 or 10 ministries which are very important, and Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. I have been saying this from for years now, but the thing is, this time they didn't ask much from Ministry of
Yeah.
Social Justice and Empowerment, but still, this is very important ministry. Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is there. Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Minority Affairs. These four ministries actually are totally related to social dynamics. Then we comes to economy. The Ministry of Finance is there. Okay, that is again we are talking about. It comes under FM only. So in ESI, Ministry of MSME is there. Labor and Employment, Skill Development. Then Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health. So these are the ministries. I think 8 or 9 or say 10 are there. I have mentioned on the channel. If someone
Yeah.
has doubt, they can go there. So for these ministries, other than this Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, and Women and Child Development, for these three I think you should do each and every scheme. And
Okay.
other than these three, all 7 or 8 ministries which are left, you should make notes for all the flagship schemes. This
Okay.
year, yeah, this year also, this was social security related schemes of Ministry of Finance. That was
Yeah.
questions. Then
Yeah.
if there is one some scheme which is again coming in news again and again and again and again, so you should make notes for also for that
Okay.
also. For example, uh, this Manarega, no, every
Yeah.
time it is in news, and they can ask this anytime they can ask, and you can't give any excuse because this is the importance of that news is so high. So such kind of NRLM, these kind of schemes you have to cover. And there's one more thing: if not even scheme, if some initiative of government of India is in news, uh, and it is being emphasized by the government, you should know each and everything about that initiative. Just give an example of Mission Life. So it was
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
news. PM was endorsing, the whole government endorsing was enforcing this idea again and again, and we got a 4 or 5 question cassette in mains.
Yeah.
So it is very important. So you have to choose things for schemes. I am saying 10 ministries, I said. For three
Hmm.
ministries, social justice,
Okay.
tribal and women child development, you should do each and every scheme, even the autonomous bodies under these ministries, for example, National Trust, and this is one more
I
Rehabilitation
think.
Council of India.
Hmm.
So you should do the schemes of these autonomous bodies as well. And for other 7 or 8 ministries which I have mentioned in the channel, you can go and check. Flagship schemes should be covered. Other than that, you only need to do those news which are again and again coming in news. So those are the things. What you should do, the schemes you have enlisted. Now, what to cover in that scheme? So you should know the objective, from where it was launched, when it was launched, the entitlement, who all are beneficiaries, and if there is any updation in that scheme. So these are the basic things which you should cover. 6 things.
Okay. And sir, we also, I think we also should take care this of this thing that not everything can be covered. Like last year, there were questions like which states were not there in the pilot project of this particular scheme. So, for such schemes, like we should cover such kind of facts and data, or it is better to skip those things which are like too much to remember.
We should skip. The simple thing is, if it is in news, in newspaper it is coming in and again, then you must have made notes on this. If it is not there, you have not made notes. If you are going ministry wise, you have not made notes. It is not in news, you have, it is not in there in your notes. So there is no need to go behind one thing, no? Because this is a 300 marker exam, and you don't need to put extra efforts only for those 2 marks. You can
Yeah.
leave those 2 marks, and instead you can gain 2 marks somewhere else. So that is the thing, that is the key. Because yeah, we are human, that we won't be able to cover anything under the sun. So you have to be smart enough to leave anything which is taking too much time.
Okay. So striking the right balance is equally important. And so if I talk about the sources, like we talked about the three ministries from where we have to cover almost all the schemes. So is it good to do it from any compilation, or is it better to go to the ministry website and covering that scheme? And what is the difference between these two approaches?
Okay. So the level of questions they ask in phase two. So I'll simply say you go to the website of the ministry and make your own notes. And other ministries, other than those 10 ministries, you can follow any compilation. So Vision IS provides free compilation of government schemes. So you can follow that compilation for other ministries, but for these 10 ministries, that compilation is bare minimum one can do. It is better to
Okay.
make your own notes as well for social justice, tribal, and women child development, at least for these three ministries. And again, those 6 points I told, make notes on majorly on those based
Okay.
on those points itself.
Okay, so sir, because even when I was preparing, if I used to visit any ministry, so for some schemes, the schemes are like even in 80 pages, 90 pages. So it is not practically possible for us to, go to each scheme and cover everything. So, like as you said, the points which are mentioned and whatever is coming in the PIB related to it, will that suffice?
That would be
Okay.
that would suffice. And also, I saw this EduTap ka compilation. It was good enough, but still, it missed some of the points. Other coachings, I saw some of the compilations. Someone was sharing that thing, so I went through, but I didn't find those things uh, like to that level. But EduTap wala, he or she, whatever, who has framed that. PDF, they have changed the way they used to do it earlier. So it was a bit better, but still, I'll simply say that it would be much better if you do it on your own, because coaching wala can leave something, some very important data point sometimes, and they try to cover each and everything under the sky. So that is also very difficult it is to retain so much of data. So if you do it on your own, you will be much in a better position, I'll say, because once you read, then you write, then you again read, so three revisions already.
Yeah. That is true. And so, similarly, if I talk about PIB, then a lot of good compilations are available for PIB. So, then what is your take on like why one should go on the website and they should read the PIB, like raw PIB, and then take the pain of making notes out of it? Like how it would help a person from
Okay.
somebody who is doing it from the compilations.
Okay, again, when you read, you write, you again read, three revisions are there. So it gets printed in your memory, one thing. Second, okay, if you have time crunch, you can follow compilations as well. Because the thing is, if you are making your own notes and if you are following a compilation, there are two benefits. One, you have someone to blame on that because of that person I am not able to get marks. Second thing, you will if you will lose, you will lose 5 or 6 marks at max. And if you think that you can compensate those marks in some other area, then you can invest that time in some other places as well. But the kind of unpredictability we are having these days, it is difficult actually. So that is why I suggest making your own notes. It may take time, but the thing is, this is a habit. And when you are following PIB on your own on daily basis, what happens that most of the news which is coming, you already know that it was about to happen. Uh, a PIB, say if some scheme is coming, na, there will be 3 or 4 articles on that scheme. One month before the launch of that scheme, that yeah, Falani ministry is planning to do this. Then second will be, so on Falana date, PM will be launching this scheme at this place. Then third, today the scheme is launched by PM when these are all the features. And after some days, that within 1 week of the launch of the scheme, these many people have registered on that scheme. So 4 times you are reading a scheme, and there is no way, there is not even an excuse with you. You can't give an excuse that I forgot, because you can't forget. If you have read that 4 times, you have made your notes, no chance of forgetting that skill.
Yeah. And it also becomes like a story because we are reading it in the PIB, we are reading it in the newspaper, and then we also read it in, let's say, Affairs Cloud. So it kind of gets interlinked. So, yeah, like even without actually consciously reading that, we have that in our
Exactly.
mind.
Correctly, precisely explained everything. So it the circle, na, it is complete.
Yeah. So that is about the schemes and the PIB. And so, for how many months one has to cover the PIB?
Okay, for phase one, I'll say 4 months, and for phase two, 8 months. This is minimum. You can go up till 1 year, not more than that.
Okay.
1 year is also too much. So if you are free, if you are done with, if you are only doing answer writing, you are following PIB and newspaper on daily basis, and you have much more time, because when you are doing this from the start, you are doing PIB, you are doing business and you are doing answer writing. In the end, you will have like plenty of time to revise, to do things. At that time, if you have plenty of time, you can go behind 8 months, but initially it is better to focus on 8 months itself.
Okay. Like having less content but more revisions
And
would
yes,
be more.
when we talk about less content, I want to emphasize on this thing that try to restrict your resources. Okay, if you are following raw resources, newspaper and PIB, what else can be better than that? There is no need to. And this, okay. Yesterday, when I was thinking about the interview, what I'll say, so I remembered this one thing. Telegram and FOMO, fear of missing out. These are the two, fear of missing out is the worst habit aspirants have these days. So they are always available on Telegram. Even I am also always available on Telegram. But the thing is, I have from last 2 or 3 years, I was only into mentoring and guiding. So that is why I am available. I was not into preparing. So use Telegram wisely actually. Every time on the groups, on somewhere you are asking something, and then okay, people are arguing on Telegram, and for, I don't know, means what is the usage of that argument on Telegram? And even if you prove your point on Telegram, nobody is giving a shit. So as simple as that, you have to focus your energy. Youth, being a district youth officer in NYKS, I have came to know, I have worked with the youth. So youth are full of energy, but they lack direction. So you have to put that energy in one direction only, and that should be the exam, cracking that exam. So there is no need to argue on Telegram. And one more thing, that there is no need to subscribe 15 channels and ask every mentor again and again, and then 15 answers you are reading from every mentor, you are getting strategies you are getting, and then you are also looking. No, most of you, they must be searching for the interviews these days of the selected candidates, and then you will want to watch full interviews of all the people, and then look, you are wasting so much time. You just follow
True.
one. It can be AIR-01, it can be AIR-222. So you simply follow one person, even if it is not he, she is not AIR, he, she is a mentor. You follow a person. You choose a person, you follow that person, but follow that person religiously. There is no point in going here and there, here and there, here and there. So lots of distractions are there on Telegram,
Yeah.
and one should focus. And people know consistency and dedication we talk about, but people are easily
Getting.
distracted. They get distracted. So that is one point we should work on. And instead, people have uninstalled Instagram. I had uninstalled, now I have installed again, but I had uninstalled. So lots of other people I have seen, they have uninstalled Instagram because they keep on scrolling. So what they'll do, they have uninstalled Instagram because they were scrolling too much, and now they are scrolling in Telegram.
True.
So that habit is continuing. Now you have to put a line. You have to put a line that I will not go beyond this. I will not use Telegram for the whole day. I'll just use for last 15 minutes or in a day or something like that. Or you can't have a doubt each and every day that you will go and ask there. You have a doubt, say once a week. You can just simply put your doubts. You will get replies each and every day. You can't have doubts, no? And that is one thing. And for that only, Anmol took this initiative that we will make a video which will answer most of the questions here. So I'll simply suggest, if you watch this video, after this video, please do not excessively use Telegram, because I have also shared this already, if you must be remembering, in one Gyan post, that each group have 10, 20, or 30 of Gyan givers. So there is no need to take Gyan from each and every person. Even whatever I have shared, there is no need to follow it blindly. You are wise enough to devise your own strategy. Plus, do not waste time on Telegram or just following Falana Baba, and there are so many coaching walas. So
So,
do not waste time. That is the key. That is the only thing I want to say.
yeah. That is true. Like a lot of mentors are mushrooming on Telegram. And one thing I've realized that as one moves ahead in the journey, they realize it on their own that what would be better thing for them to do. And it's better that you take your own calls and take the calculated risk.
Exactly.
That like it cannot come from any mentor, or like you can definitely watch for a structure, basic structure, but then like as you move forward, I think one self can be their best partner or mentor in this journey until
Uh,
we reach the selection.
and each day we have a new mentor, no, on Telegram. We have some one or the other one is there. So if, as you said, that mentors are mushrooming on Telegram. So if you have new mentor, you can't, each and every day you will listen to new mentor. How will you implement? So it
True.
is better to devise your own strategy, and uh, limit the resources as well as limit the Telegram channels. I have asked people to even unfollow We Learn here when
True.
they think that they can't even handle this Telegram. They are scrolling through. So just unfollow, na, just uninstall the Telegram, because at the end of the day, clearing the exam is the objective.
Yeah, like some people take it as winning on the Telegram is important, but the long term objective is to clear the exam. And sir,
Yeah.
as we are talking about clearing the exam, one most important part that comes into picture in the ESI is the reports, which also scares the aspirants because RBI is asking the reports even like some 2 years back and something. So, for how many months one has to cover the reports, from which organizations it has to be covered, and how we have to filter out the reports. Secondly, the data and the sources. Again, I'm talking a lot about data, but RBI is also fascinated by data, so I'll have to ask it again and again.
Arey, RBI is not fascinated. IBPS is fascinated actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we talk about reports, it is a trend, and we always have one GDP forecast wala question. So any GDP forecast by an international organization, say IMF, World Bank, OECD, Asian Development Bank, NSO, uh, or any national organization. So RBI, they also give GDP forecast during MPC. So these are very important, and I think from last 5 or 6 years, the organization which I said, these only were covered during GDP forecast. So IMF, World Bank, OECD, Asian Development, NSO, RBI, और भी एक दो जो भी है Fitch, Moody. So these are the things. Okay, you should know the forecast for say today we are sitting on it is 7th January. Okay, so you should know FY23 का forecast, FY24 का forecast, and FY25 का forecast
Okay.
for India as well as world.
Okay. Um,
And okay, and by how many basis points they have downgraded or upgraded, and what were the reasons behind downgrade and upgrade. So that would be it. This is the only information you need from GDP forecast. Plus, you should know the name of the report.
okay. So, like knowing the reports is important, like which organization is releasing which report. And so, if we talk about this year's question paper, then they also specifically asked about the growth of the advanced economy. So, the aspirants who are preparing for 2024 or upcoming attempts, so do they also need to read about separately for advanced economies or developing economies?
Yes, actually, IMF, World Bank, OECD. Okay, leaving ADB, these three. IMF, the most important one, World Bank and OECD. These three, and sorry, one more is there. I think UN DESA. Okay, so UN also releases this report. So these four organizations, you should read thoroughly about the uh, news, about the forecast, and if it is in newspaper, that newspaper covers advanced economies ka forecast as well. You should make notes of these four. Also,
Okay.
going one more, step ahead, you should know about the history, geography of that report also. So, IMF has this World Economic Outlook. So, when do they survey the
Mhm.
participants? Such kind of questions are also there. But the thing is, it is difficult actually because it was not expected. But the thing is, now we know that they also ask such questions. So, as simple as that, only four organizations, and that too only GDP forecast: IMF, World Bank, uh, OECD, and UN. So one, it is doable. Only four organizations and four reports by these organizations. When, who, how many like surveys, how many months. So such things also one should cover now.
Okay.
Okay. So taking it further, the reports wala thing. So indices also are very very important. Uh, I think RBI didn't ask many indices this year, but we can't neglect this part, ignore this part. They can ask any day because indices are important. How many? So say name any index. That index you should know which organization releases. When was the year? First year when it was released. First, second, third state or country. Last state or country, and how many indicators are there, what is the score for India, all these kind of things. I think hunger report was there or gender gap report was there. So you should know that how many countries are there which are above a threshold, how many countries are below that threshold. In BRICS countries, how many countries are above India, how many countries are below India, so something like that. Because reports, GDP forecasts, indices, these are very, very important, and these are integral part of ESI section for years. And IBPS has not changed the pattern much. So if they are asking GDP forecast, they are asking a scheme, they are also asking a report. So these are very important aspects which can be covered with lesser, by putting lesser energy actually.
Sir, if I have to ask you about the sources, so what should be the source of covering this reports and indices? For how many months one has to cover, and do we need to visit the original reports for this section?
Okay. Other than GDP forecast, I don't think we need to read original documents. GDP forecast also we don't need to read original document, but a summary would suffice. But you should read the four organizations I told, the reports by those organizations. So inside and out, how was that started, the survey or whatever the forecast. That one thing. Second, the report and indices you don't need to. Go for the original document. Affairs Cloud will cover that, newspaper will cover that, PIB will cover that, and if you have time, you can go for Vision IAS monthly PDF. Restrict your area. Do not start reading the full document. Just read economy, social, and the last part, indices
Okay.
wala part. These three parts only if you have time.
Okay. And sir, suppose if I'm reading a newspaper and I get to see that, okay, this report on women or let's say child malnutrition is there in the newspaper. So, how I would decide that if I should actually read this report and make notes out of it, or it's this report should be skipped.
Okay, so if some report is there in news and it is released by an international organization, a famous, prestigious organization like UN, so you have to read. that is the only key. If it is released by a prestigious international organization, or for that sake national, but a known prestigious government organization, or any NGO like Pratham. So if
Hmm.
like that known, famous uh, organization, then that news should be covered, that report should be covered. But again, I'll say, do not go for the original document. 70 page ka document hoga, you won't be able to retain anything. Newspaper, affairs cloud, PIB, then again, if time allows, Vision IAS ka monthly PDF, that would suffice, because you
Okay.
won't be able to cover each and everything under the sky, so limiting the resources.
Okay, sir. Okay. And sir, if I have to talk about your descriptive English strategy, then how did you cover that portion?
Okay, again, when you practice for ESA and FM descriptive, your English descriptive gets improved itself. And the thing is, in the end or before the phase two, or say phase one, for some days, you should practice writing essay, because some of the key things we miss. For example, giving heading for Pressy, so such things we should not miss. Otherwise, English scores are more or less average. And okay, if you're too good in English, you will get marks. Say 70, someone has scored this year 70 plus, but more or less below 60 was the average score this year. So that is one thing. And yeah, English, if you are practicing ESI and finance, and we are also giving one essay on weekends, so that would be enough. If you are because the thing is, you should follow some of the things in English. You should give a proper introduction, and no need to write in points. Okay, essays should not be written in points until unless it is in a question format. So that is
Okay.
one thing. Then Pressy, you should give heading for sure, and you should then summarize that passage in parts. If there are three paragraphs, you should summarize the first, then second, then the third, the gist of it. And you should not use the words which are used in the actual passage. Then comes comprehension. Same goes with the comprehension. Read 2-3 times the comprehension and simply answer the questions. Do not repeat the questions. Sorry, do not repeat the words which have been mentioned in the
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
passage. And I was not able to actually. I took much more time in essay, and I was not able to complete my comprehension. So two questions I totally left, and out of five were there, I think. So in comprehension, so two I did. Third wala half I would
Okay.
wrote, and two I left. But I scored 56.5 in English.
That
So
is.
that is one thing. Plus, a catchy title in press, that is also very important. If you have a catchy, if you are given a catchy title, so examiner will be fascinated, attracted towards your answer. So that is also key.
Okay, so basically, time management in the exam and some practice beforehand will be the key to success, like in English. And so, after covering the phase two, now we are moving towards the interview section, जो कि लोगों को सबसे ज़्यादा डराता है. And given कि the range of interview scores in RBI is very high, so how did you start your preparation and given 2019 ke marks? So how did you overcome that and how did you start preparing for the interview?
Okay. So again, as I told, I was not so sure. My wife pushed me. So somehow I cleared phase two. Then again, before interview, my date was 21st or 22nd, 21st of November, I think. So no, 23rd of November. So
Okay.
I was sitting till October. I was doing my office work and all. One thing I did after phase two, I did this IMF ka certification, because I felt that 2019, that might have been the reason, because I was not able to figure out what went wrong. It was a decent interview, but then I thought that even as an interviewer, if I am an interviewer, I would want to see something which is related to my field in the candidate. So that was something which I worked on. I did these two certifications, and this morning only someone was saying that yeah, these certifications take 6 of months and this and that. So how will we do this now? We will be doing this for 2025 or what? So the thing is, after phase two, it took me 7 to 8 or say 10 days to do that certification course offered by IMF. Because in the interview, they won't ask you how many days that training was, how many days ka course was there. They won't ask such things. Na? They will simply say IMF has offered this course. What have you learned in that course? You should be able to justify the knowledge you have gained from that course. That's it. There is no need to tell anything else. So when I got the certificate, in that certificate it was mentioned that it was a 3 months course, but on an average a person took 42 hours in completing
Okay.
that course. So you can even do a simple basic course. You have to simply write, I have done the course on financial inclusion, course on this credit or say risk management. So that is it. Now you should be giving say you should be giving a hint to interviewer that this is what I have done, and the interview should be driven on these lines. So that is also very very important. And uh, mock interviews are also important. Okay, so this year we had this initiative. So the peers, no, they took interviews. But the good thing was we had 4 or 5 interviewers interviewing one person at one time. So the person who is sitting, he or she got a proper feel of a RBI interview when 6 people are asking from 6 different perspectives. So most of the perspectives are covered in such interviews. So that was the thing we did this year. For me, actually, I was not so sure. I didn't prepare till October, but in November for 15 days, I gave everything which I had. Financial inclusion and macroeconomics of climate change. I had 2 certifications. I read in and out of uh, these subjects, each and everything. Most of the things I knew. Even in India, in Kenya, something is happening about financial inclusion and climate change. I knew. Then I worked on my profile. Working on your profile is very very important because most of the interviews, they were on these lines itself. So what you have done in your life. So if you have gap years, so justify your gap years. So if you can
Okay.
simply say, yeah, I was preparing for these many exams and side by side I did certification course I have done. So that is justifiable. Na? You can't simply say that, okay, I was sitting for 3 months, 3 years, 4 years gap is there. I was preparing for UPSC. That is okay. That is the truth. You were preparing for UPSC, but somehow you need to add something to your profile as well
Okay.
in those 4 years. So you should have anything you should be able to say. And if you don't have anything to hide, simply do a course. When one person, if he is questioning something, that where were you 3 years ago or something like that, if I am going through your biodata, I'll say, oh, there are gap years. And just downside, just below the this gap years thing, there is one more portion, that anything which is valuable to the bank. So if you put 2 courses there, so I'll forget about the gap years and I'll be attracted towards those courses. So you need to drive your interview actually. And still, if someone asks you about your gap years, and if you are not able to justify, tell the truth. Okay,
Okay.
honesty is the best policy. You should simply say that, yeah, I was doing this, and I was so fascinated by Falana exam that I tried my best in doing so, but I was not able to because of some reasons, or whatever reason had been there. So I decided to go for other exams also, and then I did this. I made my profile. I did this to be eligible for the RBI, and now I'm sitting here. So I have done this course, something like that. You should be
Uh,
able
so,
to.
so definitely the certifications or any course that we do at stars to our profile. But if we talk, suppose first thing, how one should choose the certification course which they should be doing, because it has to somehow link your current profile and the profile which you are looking forward for. And sir, second thing is there that if you write something like if you write something in your biodata, then it is assumed that you know 80 to 90% of the things around it. So there might be the case that people might get certification but they don't have adequate knowledge. So in such cases it might impact them in a negative way. So how one should handle that, because during the interview there is lot to handle. And so third thing which I would like to ask is that people who are appearing in the RBI, they have great profiles. Like people are from IITs, IIMs, Big Fours, the PSUs. So somebody who is not having very strong profile, an interview is a deal breaker. So for such people, is it like even a wise choice to go for exams like RBI?
Okay. Actually, we don't know what happens in the mind of the board actually, and uh, okay, it is a matter of fact that luck has to play a role in this. Okay, because we the thing is, if even if I am an interviewer, no, I have some of the biases. I have come from a background, and I'll be my judgment will be hampered, no, it will be impacted by those biases. So always luck has a factor, but the thing is, I have seen people, we all have seen people clearing this exam, clearing the interview with good marks, even if they are not from IT, even if they are not from IM, they are not from Big Four. Okay, some of the people, they have simply done BA and they have cleared RBI in the past years. So that is one thing. What you, whatever has been asked to you in the way in which you answer the questions in an interview has a big role to play. Your personality, all in all, has a big role to play. Certification courses can be chosen as per your interest area. If you don't have anything related to bank, if you are coming from a banking background, finance background, there is no need to go for any course. You have to justify whatever you have done. That's it. If you have nothing related to banking, RBI, or from anywhere, the easiest way out is financial inclusion.
Yeah.
So somehow you are related to financial inclusion. Somehow you are, you have heard na RBI कहता है का news, advertisement, that is also financial inclusion. So all these things, even if you know, if you go through functions and working PDF of RBI, it mentions the salient features of currency notes for
Yeah.
the security purposes. Huh? So there are monograms and all. So even if you know that thing, you tell someone that thing, that is also financial inclusion and financial education. So these are the two areas which you can focus on if you are not at all related to banking or finance, and you can choose these two areas for certifications. But the thing is, if I am saying this, and let us a hypothetical situation, let us suppose next year 600 people, and out of 600, 300 reach there with financial inclusion ka course, it doesn't make sense. Na? You have to
Yeah.
justify that. You have to justify that. And if every third person will have financial inclusion ka course, panel won't be interested in your course anymore. So that is also the key, because even if you are sitting in the panel and you are just going through the biodata, every third person is talking about financial inclusion, you will say what all what you are doing, all your people, we won't be able to know, you will be bored. So that is also the key. So in a wise way you have to choose. Plus, from where you are getting that certification. On EDX platform, we have a European investment bank के certifications, IMF के certifications, ADB के certifications. So that you have to choose properly. Other than that, also look, we are overemphasizing on certifications. Other than certifications, also you have to be thorough with RBI functions and working PDF. These are the basic. Certification comes after all this. You should know each and everything about RBI. You should know each and everything about yourself. You should be well aware about the current affairs. And when we talk about each and everything about RBI, that also covers notifications and the most important part, RBI speeches. Just after phase 2, you have to start reading RBI speeches. Okay, and 3 months of speeches, 4 months would suffice. And you know, RBI speeches I didn't use in phase 2, but actually those are very good source of information. Very good source of information, I would say. If you get time, you can read any speech. There are hardly one or two speeches in a
Yeah.
week, or not even one sometimes.
Right.
So very good source of information and knowledge about RBI. So speeches, one should start reading as like make a habit, because it will there are two things in interview. They also ask for a perspective. many times. What is your own perspective? So one, if one is sitting in his home and reading business standard editorials will give some perspective, but still if you are only reading PIB and some coaching material, you won't be able to develop any perspective. For developing perspective, speeches are very important source. So that is one thing. One should read speeches. Okay, so these were the things: profile, RBI, current affairs, and RBI means including speeches also. So these are the basic things which you should do for your interview. One more thing: one should read your own biodata 2 3 times and then come up with 50 or 60 questions based on your
Okay.
biodata which can be asked in an interview, and then write answers for 50 or 60 questions, those 50 or 60 questions. In the first draft, you have written 60 answers, then you will go through, you will find no, this can be better. So you can improve till the day of interview. So that is also one important approach towards interview.
Okay. So basically working on these aspects and then moving towards the additional things like courses and all. That has to
Exactly.
be the approach for interview. And sir, what difference did you feel in RBI interview as compared to other interviews which you have taken in your life? Like बहुत जो डर बना के रखा है RBI interviews को लेकर. So is it actually true, or like how one should be mentally prepared for such situations?
Look, I am not the right person to like answer actually, but the thing is, we have seen single digit marks in interviews, and that is something which is disheartening. Uh, I don't know what would be the basis of awarding single digit marks, but there has to be some blunder when you get single digit marks. In other exams, I haven't seen much single digit marks, so that is one thing because. RBI interviews. That is why we say that unpredictable and trickiness is there in interviews. But again, we have seen people scoring 74 as well. We have seen
Yeah.
people scoring 1 as well. So that range is so high. So that is the main reason behind the trickiness of this interview. But that is not in our hands. What we can do, we can give our best. We can prepare, and that would be it now. Whatever marks we'll get, that is in the hands of the panel. So whatever is controllable, we should try to control those factors only.
Okay. And sir, how was your reaction after the interview? Like, were you satisfied?
Yes, I was totally satisfied with the interview this year. I have already shared the interview transcript, and uh, when I came outside the interview room, I was like sure of clearing the exam, but I was not sure about the rank and all. So I was hopeful enough more than 2019, because in 2019 whatever happened, so it was I was also in disbelief. I was like I was also questioning the panel that, oh, I only got 15 marks, this and that. So for 1 or 2 months, I was in that stage. But later on, I realized that, okay, again, these are not the controllables. These are not in my hands. I should do what I can do, and I did. That's it.
Okay. So, sir has very well covered all the aspects related to exam, be it phase one, phase two, or interview. And I'm really hoping that the aspirants would be getting much of the needed help from watching this video. And sir, anything which you would like to say to aspirants? वैसे तो आपके like your ज्ञान्स आते रहते हैं and whatever we need, you're always available. But still, anything which you would like to share with the aspirants or any advice?
Same advice as I gave yesterday. There are 3 4 things which are there very important. Again, consistency is there, dedication is there, self belief is there, and luck, with a tinge of luck. But luck putting aside, because we can't control
Hmm.
that thing.
Yeah.
Other 3 things we should focus on. We should focus on consistency, dedication, and self belief. These 3 ingredients, if you have, and if you can develop, I think you'll be able to succeed irrespective of the exam. Even in life, you will be able to succeed.
Okay, so these are actually golden words, and everything which is explained by Sir in this whole video, they will surely act as guiding light for the people who are looking forward to appear in the next attempts. And the session has been really detailed. So thank you so much, Sir, for being here with us for such a really long time. I think it has been more than 2 hours, and you have answered every question in a very detailed manner. And like whatever you do for us on the We Learn Here channel, like even that could be an example for aspirants, like how one has to be consistent and dedicated and committed if they are choosing
बस
anything for
बस
themselves.
बस 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 ठीक है.
And a lot of aspirants ask about like Sir, who is the owner of the channel. So here we have with us the Atul Sharma Sir, who has not only shared his strategies, his techniques with us on the group, but he has also implemented it, and uska saboot hum dekh chuke hain. He's all India rank 1 this year, and he has amazing scores in both phase 2 and interview, and even in the phase 1. And even if we look at 2019, he scored way above the phase 2 cutoff. So I would say, just listen to whatever Sir is saying. And again, I hope this video will help people. And even if after this people will have doubt, then Sir will be there. We will be there to help out the aspirants. And thank you so much, Sir, once again for being here.
Thank you, and we'll be interviewing you also and the other people who have been who have cleared this year's exam from our group. We'll be sharing those interviews as well.
Yeah, Sir, we'll try to make whatever we could. So yeah,
Okay,
sure.
thank you, Anmol.
Thank you so much, Sir.